Welcome to the Refine and Shine, the podcast dedicated to mastering the art of continuous improvement and optimizing every aspect of your life. I'm Angelina Rivera, your host, and together we'll uncover the secrets to refining our lives, our habits, and our processes to unlock our inner brilliance. Join us on Refine and Shine, where we'll delve deep into achieving more in life without the burnout and without all the stress. This podcast is your platform for a more fulfilling life through continuous improvement and personal growth. In each episode, I and a diverse array of guests discuss practical strategies for up-leveling every aspect of your life. From developing good habits and organizing your space to refining your mindset and personal goals, we're going to explore it all. Our guests share personal stories about the systems they've developed or systems they've used and the tweaks they've made in their lives when refinement was needed, allowing them to truly shine. Listen to Refine and Shine to learn how you can implement continuous improvement techniques in your daily routine, develop and maintain healthy habits that lead to success and satisfaction, organize your life to reduce the stress and increase your productivity, foster a growth mindset that propels you to new heights. My mission is to inspire you to take bold action, make positive changes, and become the best version of yourself. Whether you're aiming to elevate your career, nurture meaningful relationships, or enhance your overall well-being, Refine and Shine is your guiding light. With over 25 years of experience in continuous improvement, I help businesses streamline their processes, establish efficient work areas, and implement standard work protocols. I have trained over 600 individuals and teams in process improvement, optimizing workflows, and enhancing overall operational efficiency. Tune in every week as we embark on an enlightening journey, exploring paths to refinement and illuminating the way to shine in every area of our lives. Subscribe now and join us on this journey to polish your life and let your best self shine through. Thank you for joining us on Refine and Shine. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Refine and Shine podcast. I am super excited for my guest today because she is an integrative health practitioner, and I'm all about helping people and having guests on my show that help people with their health, because health is something that we cannot get back. Like, we have one life, one body, and it's so important that we learn how to take care of it. So my guest today is Krista Story. She is, like I said, an integrative health practitioner, and she is the founder of Rewrite Your Story. She specializes in helping women uncover their hidden imbalances behind their health struggles using a root cause approach. Krista uses tools such as quantum nutritional response testing, biofeedback, functional nutrition, and emotional healing to support gut health, hormones, and overall wellness. She works with clients both locally and remotely, helping them better understand their bodies and move beyond symptom-based care. So thank you, Krista, for being my guest here today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. What I love what you're doing is that what you said and what you have in your bio is you go not just doing, you don't put you're not doing a Band-Aid approach. You're actually looking through the root cause. I'm a person who does process improvement, and I'm like, we can't just fix put a Band-Aid on something. We actually have to get to the root cause of why these, for example, manufacturing, why do these defects keep happening? And a lot of times in medication or in the medical field, they just want to treat you with a prescription and not really figuring out why does this keep happening. And so I would love to know is how you got into this and why you have taken your practitioner, how you formed your foundation or your company based on helping people with their health.
So I have a long story of how I got into this, but I'll just kind of shorten it. But basically, I got into this because of my own health struggles and what I went through. So way back July 13th, 1999 is when I lost my son. He was stillborn, and it was due to finally discovered that it was due to a thyroid issue, but it took a while to figure that out. And once I lost him, I had the grief, and then I had the trauma of all of that, as well as a thyroid that didn't work, and then no doctors were figuring anything out. And so at that time, I started trying to research for myself and discovered, I needed to find a specialist, and got better with the specialist, had another baby. Everything went well. But as going along, thyroid disease continued to give me problems, as well as I also got Lyme disease. So those struggles really set me back. And back then, I was a public school teacher. So I've actually taught school for 33 years. So it's kind of different story of how I got into this. So in trying to navigate through my struggles and trying to find the right holistic practitioner, because I wasn't getting help, like you said, another drug, side effect, all that stuff. I discovered I needed to be an advocate for myself. I needed to find holistic people. I needed a natural way. And just started to heal myself with finding out more research. And then 2020 happened with COVID. And as a teacher, we all got sent home. So I had lots of time on my hands. And I was always still like helping people with whatever I had found out. So a good friend of mine said, I don't know what you're doing. She said, but you need to go to school for this, because you need to, like, you have a purpose. So you need to educate in a different way. And I was like, oh, wow, that's crazy. That's something to think about. Well, that's what I started. So I started doing school at the Integrative Health Institute, became an integrative nutrition health coach. Then I went to school to become an integrative health practitioner. And since then, I went to school for emotion code practitioner as well as quantum nutrition practitioner. So I love teaching. I did this business part-time in the evenings to try to help people. I taught all day, and then I would have appointments at night. And then I left teaching, and I do this full-time. And I work from my home. So I can help a lot of people remotely that way.
I think that is such an inspirational story. And first I wanted to say my condolences to, losing your son. I have had a miscarriage at 5 months, and it was something really hard. And so I understand, like, you go through this, and then it's just a lot. It's a lot to deal with. And I love that you kept figuring out, like, why did this happen? Mm-hmm. And that you kept going through that. And that when it comes to your thyroid, I mean, those are things like with your thyroid, from my understanding, because I've done a little bit of research on it, it affects so much more than people understand. And that you're like, no, something's wrong. I got to figure this out. And so I commend you for that. And also, being a teacher for 33 years, that's a long time. And so I thank you for your public service, because that is a lot to deal to deal with kids and all of the different environments. Every year you're getting different students and all of that. And so thank you for that as well. And I love, like, there's people can say that sometimes the pandemic, there were some hard times in it. But then there's some things like your story where you're like, I have some time, and what can I do with this time? And that you went back to school and you did all of these things. And that was a lot of schooling. So thank you for that. I think that when we go through things and we want to figure out how to fix them, that when we go and educate ourselves and do all of those things, there's so much power in that. I love how you're helping people, throughout the world, basically, with what you're doing. And when did you decide that you were going to rewrite your story?
Because my last name is Story. I also went through a divorce where that was really an awful thing. So grief of losing my son, and then going through a divorce is really hard. But I had my maiden name taken back, which is Story. And so when I first got my first certification, I needed to, create a business. And I thought, I rewrote my story, and I just, it's a play on words with my last name. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is so perfect. Because that's what I want to help other people do. I want to give them hope that they can rewrite their story.
That's beautiful. And again, you've been through so much, and here you are, like, you can, like, go through everything bad happens to me, or, hey, how am I going to rewrite my story, and how am I going to help others heal? And you also do, like, the emotional, I think you said you had a certification in emotional healing or emotional intelligence. Is that what you said?
Emotion code, yes. So it really helps with emotional healing and helping people to release emotions that are trapped in our body. We don't realize how many emotions we trapped in a day, which is about 400. And most of those emotions we just kind of set aside and say, I'm not dealing with you right now. And so they do get stuck in our body. And with physical symptoms, a lot of times, it can be emotionally related. So that's one big piece of my healing as well, because you have to look at the person as a whole. We have to look at their mind, the body, their spirit, everything. And that's where I get with the root cause. It can be, many things. It can be toxins going on, but it also can be emotions. So that's a piece I like to have within my business to help people feel better and feel more at peace and be able to process things that come at them instead of feeling stressed or anxious or things like that.
I think that that's so important because, I talked to you before we were on the air about just, some people that are going through some medical things family members and stuff. And one of the things that I know, like just going through them with these appointments and stuff is like anxiety. And they're just like, oh, just get this medication. Or like there's a liver issues and they're like, okay, just get this medication. But I've recently been finding out is that when you have problems with your liver, it could be from from anger and all the anger, and you've constantly, pushing down those emotions. And so how do you help people with, the mind, the body, the spirit, like with all of these things? What is the ways that you do this holistically instead of prescribing like a medication per se?
So I do my integrative health practitioner appointments, consultations, and usually do a report of findings for people. And I use my quantum nutrition, which is basically a muscle testing. And a lot of people use muscle testing within an office, but I can do it remotely just because we are such energetic beings. Kind of sounds woo-woo, but with intention for healing, I just basically ask your body where the imbalances are, and I can find how to help that way. The emotion code piece is another way. I also have a biofeedback system that works with scalar frequencies, and that can work with the whole thing too as well. Emotional, it can help pinpoint very specifically what is going on with the root cause. So I use that as well. And then I have a group course that kind of encompasses it all. I love the group course because I have about 16 to I'm actually putting more modules in. So it'll probably be up to 18 modules of education. And that is going to be working on, it's called Rewrite Your Gut, but it's going to actually rewrite your whole story, because it has gut and immune in there. It has nutrition piece in there, all kinds of lifestyle piece like sleep or blood sugar or total mindset, your thoughts, how our thoughts, traumas, toxins, everything. So it's kind of really working on that whole piece, mind, body, spirit. So that is my favorite thing. It's a group course where we have like a Q&A every week. So we get a group connection. People have that, that encouragement from others, finding out that somebody else is going through the same thing. Sometimes you feel like you're so alone, or you're the only one. And so that part of the group is great. You also get individualized support from me as well, and just so much learning. So that is one of my favorite things that I do. So,
I love how you're doing so much with this. And one of the things I want to talk about is the gut. And so many people, and this is what I found after the pandemic, is how important our gut is, and that our gut, if we have an imbalanced gut, it can show up as skin rashes like eczema and things like that, brain fog and things like that. And most people think it's just what you put into your body, like whatever you eat. But there's so much more about our gut. And can you kind of talk about like what is a good way that we should take care of our gut health?
Yeah, the gut is so important, and it's connected to immune system. I mean, it's just more than, just having a little indigestion, right? It's connected to your brain. They talk about your gut as being your second brain. So again, nervous system's all connected as well. Your vagus nerve with your nervous system goes through all your systems and really affects gut, digestion, blood sugar, all of that. So, that's kind of an all around thing. When you work on the gut, you also have to work on your nervous system. Most of us are in fight or flight mode. So if we're forgetting that we're trying to fix the gut, we go on Amazon and buy some random probiotic or something like that. It's not actually fixing the gut if you're not addressing everything else that it is connected to. Then there's also what I work with a lot with people is health barriers that affect our gut, our immune system, our gut-brain axis is different toxins. In this world, we are so bombarded with toxins. There's chemicals, heavy metals, parasites that nobody wants to talk about. Mold toxicity is a huge one that, just goes undiagnosed. Lyme disease, something that I went through. So there's so much to address with somebody. But I guess my number one thing to tell people to start with, because that's so much, is to start working on nervous system, calming yourself down, trying to find ways to do that. And number two, nourishing your body with whole foods. Get rid of the processed foods, get rid of anything that's causing inflammation, the seed oils, all that kind of thing. That's the easiest place to change. But for most people, it's the hardest place to change because they don't want to give up, comfort and that kind of thing. But that's where I would start.
Yeah, I think that that's so important. And as I said, as me, my family and I, my husband and I have gotten through, like, started educating ourselves really on like health, whole foods, things like that. We look at ingredients. We started to figure out what brands are the food that we need that we can trust. Looking to make sure that, like, the seed oils is so important. We don't have anything with seed oils, and it's surprising how many things that we have been putting into our body for so long that have all these seed oils that we didn't know about. Like, even like when for a long time we were told butter's bad and you got to get like the margarine instead, and just all of these things. And so we spend a lot of time at the grocery store, but we've now finally got it down. Like, what are our staple items that we can buy? I'm a guilty mom that when I was younger with my children is that I thought macaroni and cheese was okay. And so we would eat a box of macaroni and cheese for dinner some nights. That's the days that I'd have the children cook. And I didn't know that it was so bad for us. And so, like, it's those things. I grew up on top ramen and didn't realize how bad things like that are. And it's hard, but once you realize like, even potato chips, you can find potato chips out there that just have avocado oil, potatoes, and salt, and that's okay. It takes just a little bit of time, but as your body detoxes from those other things, you will find that you feel a lot better. I don't get the headaches, I don't get the brain fog. And speaking of the things that you wouldn't realize are in your body or you're taking every day is even gum. I didn't realize how much gum had sucralose in it and how bad sucralose really is for our bodies as well.
A lot of it has aspartame too, which is even worse. So it is hard. You can stand in the convenience store or whatever and look at every package of gum label, and it's hard to find anything. And it's so bad for our health, and headaches, there's all kinds of side effects from it that you don't realize is from that. So reading food labels is huge, and using like an app to help you find out, what the ingredients are. But like what you just said, we used to just trust, I did the same thing when my kids were younger, and you just trusted whatever you bought at the store was going to be fine or seemed healthy. But now you can't trust anything. You really have to do the research for yourself.
I think that that's so important. And when for your clients, do you specialize just in women's health? Is that your primary customer?
So my primary customer is women. Basically, I do work with, men, children, everything, but usually it's the mom that comes in. And once, a lot of times mom might want her child to, something going on with their child, because moms don't take care of ourselves. We always worry about everybody else. But I gear myself to moms because we tend to just not give self-care to ourselves, be the super mom and everything, and try to give them, get them out of their struggles. And then with that, maybe helping their children, or then the husband starts to see the mom feeling better. So then mom brings the husband into it as well. So,
Yeah.
mhm.
I think that I love how you said that. And it is true that a lot of times women put themselves last because they want to take care of everybody else, and they think it's selfish if they're putting themselves first. And I'm a very big advocate. I coach on this. I teach on this. Is that when we put ourselves last, we are doing ourselves a disservice, and we are showing our children, and we're modeling to our children that it's okay to put ourselves last. And that's not how we should be
Right.
modeling it. And it's taken me a long time to realize that. And so when I teach people like time management, and I'm like, the first thing you do on your calendar is you schedule your self-care. And I'm like, and it's not talking about getting your hair done and your nails done. I'm talking about, what are you going to eat? When are you going to eat? What are you going to eat? When are you going to move your body? When are you going to have some downtime to rest? Those types of things. And then you schedule like your family time, and then the work and everything else. Because I think that, if you can't take care, that's why when you're in an airplane, they say, put your oxygen mask on first and then help others. And as mothers, a lot of times we forget that we have to take care of ourselves first, because we can't pour from an empty cup, right?
Exactly. I just think I used to feel that way too. Like I couldn't do that. It's selfish. I shouldn't think that way. But it is so important. And when you work on yourself and give yourself self-care, everything else around you gets better. When you don't, it doesn't benefit anyone. And I remember that with, going through a divorce. My kids were big on that and said, Mom, you have to take care of you. Like we need you in our life, Mom. So just something to think about. It made me think, yeah, I do have to, I worry about them, but I do have to take care of myself first, and then they'll be better. So I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Feeling overwhelmed by endless to-do lists and constant distractions? You're not alone. Many professionals and entrepreneurs struggle with never-ending tasks that spill into personal time, difficulty prioritizing what's truly important, a lack of clear structure in their daily routines. Well, let me introduce you to your Unlock Your Time Potential program, an 8-week coaching program designed to help you reclaim your time and boost productivity. What you will gain is proven strategies to manage your day effectively, techniques to eliminate distractions and stay focused, tools to align your daily actions with your long-term goals. Ready to take control of your time? Join the waitlist today and be the first to know when enrollment opens. Don't miss the opportunity to transform your productivity and achieve your goals. Check out the link in the summary notes.
Yeah, I think that's important. And right now, so when you had your child that was stillborn, did you already have a child before that, or was that your first child, or what was you have several children now, or?
Yeah, so I had my daughter was 3 at the time. It was also difficult too, because having a 3-year, she was a very mature 3-year-old, I should say. And she went through a lot of grief. So trying to handle my grief and her grief, and I had a lot of comments from people like, well, she's just a kid. What would it matter? And just, really things that I'm like, wow, what did you just say? Like, she does not have a brother either. So,
Mhm.
so it was really tough for quite a while to deal with her trauma, and, with losing him, and her little friends all getting to have a baby brother, a baby sister. So when my third child came into the world, he was very much welcomed, and probably too spoiled. Definitely spoiled by his big sister. So, and probably still is.
Oh, wow. I understand that completely. When I had my child that I lost, I had a son. I had my son already. He was about a year and a half old or two. And one of the things that I didn't do is I wanted to keep pushing. Like I was like, okay, I got to keep pushing through. I got to take care of him and not giving myself a moment to rest. And then 3 months after I had miscarried, I ended up I collapsed at work and being taken by urgent care. And then I was forced to take a week off work, which at that time we didn't have sick leave or anything like that. So it was no pay. Here I'm like struggling, trying to figure out how we're going to pay the rent and all of these things. And then I just looked at my son and I'm like, I got to take care of him. If I don't take care of him, like I collapsed. I can, and it was like I had to snap out of it. And then later we welcomed my daughter a little bit later, but it was like the same thing. It's like a little spoiled because you're so thankful, but I was at fear. I started having complications right away, and I had that fear, like I don't even want to tell anybody I'm pregnant because what if this happens again? And it wasn't until I was about 6 months pregnant, because between 3 to 6 months, I was put on bed rest. Once I got past that at 6 months, I finally started telling people. And then she was born early. So it was kind of like, oh, I had a 2-month pregnancy. But that whole time it was so heavily put on me, like so scared to do things and talk to
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, I remember with the birth of my third son. When you give birth to a stillborn, it's the worst experience ever. On top of it, because it's silent, right? There's so much silence. And when I was in the birth with my third son, when he was born, he was quiet. They had given me a painkiller that when he got a little bit of that. So that was the scariest thing in my life because I thought I was going through it all over again. And I kind of started screaming in the labor room, and the doctor's like, "Hey, listen, your baby's fine." He had no idea what I'd been through because he was just on call. And then all of a sudden they gave him the shot to counteract that medication that he had got, and he screamed. And that was the best sound I'd ever heard, because I thought, oh my gosh, he is alive and he is well. So, and he's been kind of loud ever since. So that's good.
Oh, I thank you for sharing that, because I think that people can relate to so much that you have been through. And then you've had all these trials and tribulations, but you were like, how can I help people? And then you've been loving to help people, and you've been doing all of these things. And I just think about how much impact you've made on the world. Even though you had some hard journeys, and I just want to say thank you, because a lot of times when people have these things that happen to them, they just clam up, they shut down, they become introvert, they don't really want to talk about things. And here you are sharing your story, and not only are you sharing your story, but you're helping people rewrite their story and going through and you've went and became more educated to help people so that you can make a bigger impact. So thank you for that.
You are so welcome. I absolutely love helping people. And I guess I'm a teacher at heart, so a big part of my job is that I try to educate people on everything or whatever we're, trying to work on with root cause or whatever. So I still continue to be that teacher. But it just brings me joy to get a message from somebody and say, wow, I am really starting to feel better. And that is like the best news ever. One thing I always do, I either do meditation or I go for a walk or exercise or something in the morning, just my time. But one thing I always do is pray for my clients, because like I said, when I get a message like that, it's just it makes my whole day. So I just continue to pray for their success and that they'll start to feel better.
I was just going to ask you is how do you keep yourself grounded? But you said that you answered it before I even asked it, is that you do the walk, you go ahead and you meditate and do all of those things. You've also had the diagnosis of the Lyme disease, and how has that affected you? And have you been able to help yourself through all the education that you've went through? Do you also help specialize with people who have Lyme disease as well?
Yeah, definitely. Since I muscle test for root cause, I do find Lyme disease on people. It's something that goes a lot of times, sometimes it's missed on a blood work. So people will just have chronic Lyme and they have no idea. It mimics other diseases. Mold toxicity does the same thing. So I've had struggled actually with both. And Lyme disease doesn't actually leave your body. So it can get reactivated when your immune system gets down, you have stressful situations, like a grief situation, anything like that, it can just reactivate. So for me, I am always constantly on top of it. Because I do get reactivations and I'll get down back into my Lyme disease hole, or, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how am I going to get back out again? But because I have so much knowledge and training, I can just, I know exactly what to do to get myself going again. But that's how I like to help people is it's not that my life is perfect, like my health, you have to work on it every day, you just really do. And as far as like detoxing, you have to put some type of detox in your, your schedule or something, some type of strategy or a supplement or something. You need to be making sure you're pushing out toxins, pushing out that Lyme bacteria, that kind of thing. So I continue to try to rise above it.
I think that's so important. And I think that I love how you said, like, it's constant, like everything, it's constantly should be on our minds to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves. And I love that you said that, even just constantly detoxing our bodies, because we could have like, I think, and probably the first time I've ever talked about this, but on a podcast, but a lot of people don't understand that if you don't even have a bowel movement every day, that is actually means that there's toxics inside of you. And so you need to look at that. And even just taking something like maybe there's all kinds of detoxification teas or different things like that you can take, but make sure you're doing a good one that doesn't have any, other hidden ingredients in there.
Yeah.
But just to flush out our systems, like flushing out our system, I've even started because I've been through surgery induced menopause, through some health issues. I had to get a hysterectomy. And so at a very young age, and so going through that menopause and that off balance and stuff like that, like I've had to even just try to start like doing maybe a 24-hour fast just to get my body cleansed out, and then, help myself with my hormones and my just being balanced as well.
Yeah, that's totally it. I always tell people to at least pick one detox strategy that they can do and continually do. There's a lot of things that are easy to do. You can dry brush, a lot of people own vibrational plates. Those really help with lymphatic congestion. You can do inversion exercises, Epsom salt baths, castor oil packs. Just pick something so that you are detoxing, and then making sure that your liver is, basically supported. But I couldn't tell you how many clients I have that come to me, like you just said, and say, well, I go to the bathroom once a week, or and I'm like, that is not right. And they're like, but I've done it for years. And I'm like, then it's not good. Because what I really work with a lot with people is making sure their drainage pathways get opened. And when you start with that colon being clogged like that, that is not good for your body. Then it's going to congest your liver, your kidneys, your lymphatic, it's all goes up to your organs and your cells then too. So that means we have a lot of work to work on. So that is not a good thing, like what you just mentioned.
Yeah. Another thing, you touched on a few things that I wanted to bring up. One of the things that you said is dry brush. And so that's something that it's fairly new to me that I've heard. And so can you kind of explain to the audience, or, our listeners, what does dry brush mean? What is that?
It's a brush. You can just, usually buy them online, a rounder kind of brush, and you just brush your skin. And I always tell people to start, from their hand up their arm and always go towards their heart. Same with your legs. And then like your stomach or your buttocks area, you can go around in circles. But do that before you shower. Or if you have a sauna, you can do it before your sauna. It's fabulous before a sauna because it makes you sweat about 3 times more, or before a bath or whatever. But it's very good for lymphatic congestion and circulation, exfoliation, and then it also helps cellulate as well because you're just moving that circulation and congestion around. So
And
Just
how often should they do that?
I would do it daily.
Oh, okay.
Yep, do it and actually, most people that start it love it. So, and it takes barely 5 minutes. You can just grab your brush. The best thing I always do is try to leave your brush out, because otherwise you jump in the shower and you completely forget. Um, but leave it where you can see it, and try to do it every day.
Mhm. And like you said, it takes 5 minutes. So, 5 minutes to say that you don't have 5 minutes to take care of your health, then you really need to
Exactly.
look at your priorities, right?
Exactly.
Another thing that you said is the vibration plates, and so those are like been a huge trend lately. And how often should people, when they go on the vibration plate, should there be some type of movement, or just even standing on the plate itself is helpful in doing 10 minutes? Or what's your thoughts on that?
Either way, I mean, there's routines or whatever you can do where you're actually with weights or you're doing things with it. You can do a routine. Otherwise, you could just stand on it, because it helps again with the lymphatic, and it helps with the circulation. I would just tell people it's good to do 10 minutes every day. The same thing you can get to, like, from the lymphatic is a rebounder. The small rebounder is like a small trampoline. Bounce on that 5 minutes a day, and that helps your lymphatic system too. The big goal is just to move that congestion, because that's when disease happens, is when everything gets congested, or toxins like to stay in our body when we're congested. So those are good things. And the other super easy thing is an inversion exercise. When you just lay on the floor, put your legs up on a wall, and you got 5 minutes of peace. Don't use your phone. Just lay there and have some peace. But that actually is great for the lymphatic system too.
Those are
So
such great.
easy. Yeah.
Yeah, those are great tips. And the other thing that you said is just to make sure that your liver is supported. And how can somebody make sure that their liver is supported?
That's where I hate to have people just go out and randomly buy something, because they don't always know what's in it. But I like to test to see what the person's body needs. So I do have different practitioner supplement companies that really support liver health really well. And that's what I like to get people on, versus somebody just randomly saying, I saw a TikTok video and they said to do this. And, like you said, you never know. There's sometimes heavy metals, there's sometimes weird stuff in supplements that you don't know is in there. That's going to be worse for your body. So that's kind of where I would say for support supplement. But if you're eating whole foods, you're going to the grocery store and you're going to the vegetables, the produce area, and you're staying away from any of that, like we just talked about, processed stuff, that's also going to help your liver as well, just because everything in your body is going to get healthier.
Those are such great tips. I thank you for that. And so with your practice, do you just take, is it like a cash patient, or do you accept insurances? How does that work?
So for the most part, I don't accept insurance. I do know that some of my clients have been able to use their HSA, which has been good for them. And I just use the Practice Better client portal, so I can do all electronic forms and everything. And when they meet with me, we just Zoom, just like we're doing right now. And so it's super easy. They can do it in the comfort of their home. They don't have to worry about getting to an appointment, having daycare for the kids, anything like that. And they can pay online as well. So I make everything as easy as possible for people.
I thank you for that. I think that that's so important, because I know that there's times when people are just scared to get outside their house, or they're scared to go to a doctor, or they're scared to do all of these things because they just don't know what they don't know, right? And they're fearful. Right. You said a lot of us live in that fight or flight mode all the time. And so I just want to tell you, listeners, if you are listening to us have this conversation and you have that nudge that, oh, I need to check on some things, then that is God telling you to check on those things. Because if that's your first thought, then that's something that you need to do. So I encourage you to do that. And like we said earlier, if you don't take care of yourselves, you can't take care of others. So it's very, very important to take care of you.
Yes, definitely.
And so how can people connect with you if they're, I'm going to make sure I have all your links in the show notes, but just in case they're driving and they're listening to this and they just want to make sure that what's the best way that you would recommend?
So my website is kristastory.com, so they can check that out. There's a place on there too if they wanted to book a free call and just ask more about what I offer. I do have a Facebook page, Rewrite Your Story. And then I have started doing like free master classes just to kind of help educate people. So my next one is going to be February 26th at 6:30, and it's Zoom, so easy to do, like right in your comfy clothes. And that link is on my Facebook page, but if they reach out to me, I can send them that link. And that one is going to be on trauma, thoughts, and toxins. So that one's going to be good.
Okay.
We'll
Yes.
be doing more of those in the future too. So.
Okay, for sure. I'll definitely have those links in the show notes as well, so that people can go and connect and, take those. I mean, I just love that you're also doing those free master classes, because once people get a little, get that education, and then they are able to understand what you're all about too, more than just hearing a podcast, but they can also hear you speak as well and teach in your best format. So I thank you for that. And as we wrap up, I always ask my guest, what is some type of action, maybe a word that you can think of, a phrase, a book, a quote, anything that they can do today in order to help them refine and shine?
I think that when you start, to invest in yourself, a lot of people think of it as they really have to transform or become somebody different. But I like to look at it as like thinking that you're going to heal what has been blocking you, like what has been getting in your way, whether it's the physical stuff, the emotional stuff. And then, what I think of myself in all my struggles is that I'm now the person I was created to be. Like I am living my purpose. And so I like to, I don't want people to struggle or be hopeless. So I just want to instill in them that it's possible to be the person, you were created to be. So.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much for everything you've shared today.
Yeah, you're so welcome. I was so honored to be on your podcast. I thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Refine and Shine. We hope you find valuable insights and inspiration to fuel your journey of continuous improvement. Remember, the key to success lies in refining your processes and letting your inner brilliance shine. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. Your feedback is greatly appreciated and helps us reach more listeners like you who are eager to refine and shine in all areas of life. Stay connected with us on social media for updates and additional resources and behind-the-scenes content. We love hearing from our listeners, so feel free to reach out with any suggestions, questions, or success stories you'd like to share. As we wrap up, remember that the power to transform your life lies within you. Keep striving for growth, embracing change, and seeking opportunities to refine your skills. Together, let's continue to shine bright and make a positive impact in the world. Until next time, keep refining and keep shining.